Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to Explore Video Conferencing Programs. My name is Lawrence, a librarian at LA County Library, and I welcome you to today's event. And now I would like to introduce our speaker for today. Adriana Alvarez is a MAKEMA librarian for LA County, which means she visits libraries and locations all around LA County in the Makermobile van to conduct outreach and do some really cool STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics programs for people of all ages. And today she'll be presenting on a topic that has been very important the last few years, as we've all had to adjust to more virtual communications while staying at home. And that is video conferencing programs. And with that being said, please give your attention to Adriana. The stage is yours.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. Yes, so we're going to do conferencing apps. I'm just going to do one moment so I can share my screen. All right, so just to make sure you guys can see the PowerPoint. All right, so explore conferencing platforms. So like Lawrence has said, we have been using this for quite some time. So, but maybe or maybe not, you don't know some of all the tools that they provide. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Staying in touch has never been easier. You can get it done with the available tools like recording, screen sharing, or a whiteboard. With the advancement of video calls, you can take your conferences, classes, webinars, family meetings, even game night to a new level with conference platforms. So a lot of worry comes with video, and some of it has to do with technical issues. So that revolves around internet connection, sound and image quality, dropped or failed calls. So last night, believe it or not, my internet went out and I was worried. I'm like, what happens if my internet, what if I have issues when I'm having my live event? And I'm like, because I'm doing it from home. So it's a real problem to have, but sometimes you just, you kind of have to roll with it. I know with internet, you kind of like, oh no, but I have to have internet. But a lot of times you can look at your phone. So a lot more cell phones will have hotspots. So I was like, okay, so I know that could be an issue. If I have that problem, then I'll just do it, use my hotspot. So sometimes sound and image quality can be an issue. So it's a matter of just moving around and finding a place where the sound is better and the image quality is going to be better. So you have to take your time in order to make yourself presentable. So I didn't just turn on my computer just now to prepare for this program. We opened this event like around 10:20. And I tested the lighting, I tested the sound, I tested whether or not my camera worked. So, and I talked to my partner, Lawrence. So all of this takes place long before we start the event. So anytime you're going to do a video conference calls, when it comes to technical issues, you're doing a lot of behind the scenes before you start presenting. So other issues is that it could be intrusive, meaning it's kind of invading your privacy. As I mentioned, I'm doing this from home, but I do things in order to protect my privacy. So I use backgrounds. So I use a background, or even if I didn't have a background, I would remove things and make sure it's presentable. So I also make sure that that there's no music or anything else going on in background, or if I'm not invading in someone else's surroundings. So that's another reason why I'm doing this from home, because if I was at work, I might be intruding on someone else's. So it's always best to check your surroundings and making sure that it's going to be less worry. Another thing is that you might be self-conscious. So a lot of times it's like, I might have a bad hair day, or I just don't like how my makeup is looking, or I just don't want to be on camera. Those are issues that are real and they're valid, but we can always do things in order to go around that. So for example, we can turn off our cameras, or we can like unmute ourselves. So those are different ways in order to go around that. So like, for example, even like sometimes at work, they want us to have our cameras off. So if I wanted to, I can talk to my supervisor and let them know, like, hey, is it okay if I don't put on my camera today? I'm actually not feeling well. So would it be okay? Like, I'll talk, like, but I just rather, so it's always, you have to be your own advocate. You always have to talk, like speak up. So when it comes to being on camera, but I promise you, like, it's not so bad. I've actually gotten used to it. These are very common worries when it comes to being on camera. So why use video conference platforms? Well, it improves communication. Instead of it being written, and when you send the message, the person who receives it, they're going to interpret it in their own way. So a best example would be like the word okay. It happens so many times where I send okay to someone and they're like, well, what kind of okay is it? Is it okay? Or is it okay? Instead, it could be a video where they ask you, hey, do you want to go grab some lunch? And like, okay, let's do that. Instead of the person who's receiving it misinterpreting it. So that's how communication is improved. Or like you're missing, let's say you send a message and you're missing a comma can make a big difference. So when you're talking in person and you're using your body language, it makes a big difference when you're doing video. But you also keep meetings in focus. So that way you can see everybody who's there, everybody's involved, you're in that moment and there are no other distractions going on because it's just you, the camera, and the conference going on. But you are also building better relationships, whether it's with your family, friends, colleagues, or any kind of get-togethers. You're not missing out on opportunities as well. So another good example is not too long ago, I was part of a gender reveal, but I was actually out of town and a lot of other family members were out of the country. So we were able to be part of this experience of the gender reveal, even though we were not at that location where the reveal was happening. So you're still building relationships. You're also collaborating. And when you're collaborating, you can be efficient, productive, and consistent instead of sending emails and thinking whether or not that email is being sent. In addition, you're also saving time, you're saving money, and you're doing less travel. So here are the different types of video conference platforms. We have Webex, Zoom, Skype, Zoho Meeting, Teams, and Google Meet. Now, I'll talk about it more in other slides, but these are all platforms that do have available purchase items, but I use the free versions. So all of these are free, but a lot of them will have paid services to open up to different tools. But all the tools that I'm talking about, all of the features that I'm going to talk about, these are all the free versions that are available. So with video conferencing, you do need to have a type of device. So you can have a laptop or computer, a laptop that either has a webcam, or you can buy a separate webcam in order to attach it to your computer or laptop. You can also have a microphone. Sometimes they're built into the laptop. So like right now, I don't have a mic. I'm using the mic that comes with my laptop, but some people will have headsets. Some will have lapel pins that have a mic, or they can have an actual mic in order to get a better sound quality. You can also use a smartphone, a tablet. What is important, as I mentioned earlier, is internet connection, Wi-Fi, or directly using an Ethernet, or like I said, a hotspot. Another thing that might be of interest, is optional, you don't have to, is lighting. So if you are using platform like the conference, video conference platforms for business, for like let's say you do webinars or workshops, lighting makes a big difference. So that might be an option for you. But if you're just using it for something casual or like a study group, then it's not a big deal, but lighting can make a difference. And so here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to get started. Once we are face-to-faces, so not just one-on-one, but multiple faces, like what is it that we're going to experience? Getting down to business. This is where we're going to talk about the different features that you might come across with all the different platforms. And then at the end, I'm going to show you guys a layout of all the different platforms in order for you guys to choose the right app. And just remember, you can always have more than one app. So let's get started. So as I mentioned, there are free versions. So you want to look for the ones that say something like sign up for free. And as you can see here, they have C plans and pricing, but we just want to focus on the ones that say sign up for free. Sometimes they'll even tell you, hey, try the trial version for 14 days, but they won't have a free version. They'll actually start charging you after that, but they won't have a free version. So you just want to make sure that you look for signs like this that says sign up for free. And even in the pricing plans, they'll have like different columns telling you what features are in the free versus the ones that are paid. And there are some where no sign up is necessary, where you don't even have to sign up. You just have to click on create a free call. So this one is using Skype. With Skype, you don't even have to have an account with them. As you can see here, if you click on, you just write the name of the meeting. So as you can see here, I named it Good Morning. I clicked it open and it has me as GU as guest user. So that's what I liked about Skype, was one of the ones where you do not even have to sign up in order to use their conference platform. But let's say you do want to register, a lot of times it's just your email or your phone number, or both. Sometimes they'll ask you for your email and phone number in order to sign up. So here with Webex, I just entered my email. They'll send my email with a verification code. I click on the verification code in order to complete the process. But for most of the ones is that you need to have an email or a phone number. What is important to know is that with some of them, you have to have an account with that company. So for example, with Google Meet, you have to have a Google account in order to use Google Meet. You can't use your Yahoo, you can't use like Outlook. You have to have a Gmail account, a Google account in order to use their service. The good news is that they are free. So if you have to use Google Meet, getting an account with Google is free. So starting a meeting, these are the icons that you're going to look for in order to start a meeting. So you will see something that says new meeting, start a meeting, meet now, or schedule a meeting. So let's say you don't want to meet right now. Let's say the meeting is going to take place 2 days from now. You can schedule it, and you can add all the people who are going to be in that meeting. So for example, with Google Meet, I can either choose new meeting, or I can create a meeting right here where it says create a meeting for later, start a instant meeting, or schedule in Google Calendars. So this is for Google Meet, but a lot of them will have this kind of option. And the idea is just for you to create a title, the date and time. You can even add more details. So if you guys noticed, when you guys signed up for this program, you will see that it had the title, it had the time and day, but it also had a description of the program as well. And if you want to, you can also add other security options, like if you want it to be password protected. So that way, when you enter, so for example, for this one, all you had to do was write in your information, like your name and email, but you'll notice that you didn't need a password. But if we wanted to, or if you wanted to, you could add a password. And I wanted to remind everyone also, if you guys have any questions throughout the program, go ahead and use our Q&A so we can answer it. Or if you have any comments, you can put that in the chat. And we're going to get to that at the end during our Q&A. So now we're getting face-to-face. We have scheduled our meeting, or we want to meet right now, and we're ready to go face-to-face. So now it's time to choose the device we want to use. So for the most part, it's good to use a laptop or a computer that has good sound quality. I don't really like to use my phone or my tablet so much because it's smaller. So I want something that's going to be more eye level in order for it to be a more presentable program. But sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to use your phone because let's say you're in your car or you're somewhere else and it's just uncomfortable to take out your laptop. So this is where you want to make sure if your platform is compatible for tablets, for computers, and like if you can use it for web browser only. So sometimes with Skype, I'll just use the web browser because I don't want to download the app. So because I can just use the browser, then it just makes it easier for me. Another thing, you want to make sure you are camera and mic ready. So I want to thank my Wolf partner for being my model, but you always want to make sure that you are presentable on camera. So for example, here, it is a preview of what it looks like before you enter the event. You can join without video, you can join with video. What you also want to look for is for something that tells you what your background looks like. So even before I enter, I know what my background is going to look like. So if I need to change it, or if I want to remove it, I can do that at any time before I even enter. This is also a good opportunity to find out whether or not your mic is on. So before you enter a meeting, do not disregard the video preview. Make sure that you have your mic or camera disabled, depending on what people have asked for. Another thing to make sure is your video display. Just like we all have different preferences of how we like to view things. And so we can have where it's like a smaller window display, so where one is on top of the other. you can also change it where the person who's talking is going to be the front and center, and all the guest speakers are going to be here at the top. So it's a larger window, but you can also move windows around. So here I put the main speaker at the top and me on the side, or you can reverse that. So you want to play around with the display. And so you'll look for something that has something like this, where it says layout. You can also always change the size. So you want to play with that around, because what works for one person may not work for you. So whatever is visually better for you, you can change it to however you like. Oops. So as I said, mic and camera option, you want to make sure you have your preview screen. And so this will tell you what whether or not your mic is on. And they'll also ask you like your camera, I mean, not your camera, your laptop or your phone or your tablet will ask you whether or not you have, whether or not you can use your camera and mic. So you just want to allow access. And then during the meeting, you can remember, you can change this at any time. So whenever I want to, if I want to stop my video, I can stop it whenever I want. And the same thing with my mic. If I know that my partner, Lawrence, is going to start talking, I can mute myself, but keep my camera on just so people know that I'm still here, I'm still present, that I haven't gone anywhere. So using your mic and your camera at the right times can also make a big difference, where it's not a distraction. Because like, let's say it's Lauren's turn to talk. And let's say something goes off in my place, or like, let's say my desk neighbor has a question for me. They notice that Lawrence is talking and they're like, oh, let me ask Adriana a question. And then my neighbor asked me a question. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm actually live. Like, make sure that you mute your camera or your mic at the appropriate times. But it's okay if it does happen. I remember my last presentation, I was talking about different devices and I said Echo, and my Amazon Echo device started going off and I was like, oh my God. And I learned my lesson. I muted it today. So I remembered. So don't worry if something goes wrong, just apologize. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, mute your mic, mute your camera, and then move forward. So I learned my lesson, I muted the thing, and I closed my windows. So I'm constantly always learning how to use my mic and camera during presentations. So another thing to check is check your mic and camera. So you can go to audio settings or video settings in order to change things. So like, let's say you want to change the noise removal, or you want to switch audio. So for example, remember how I mentioned that you can use like a mic, a lapel mic. You want to switch it. You can do that all here. Or let's say you attach the camera to your laptop, you can change that right there too. So you want to check those. And it's okay if things don't work out. You can always, like, if I was using a lapel, or actually it happens a few times, like I'm having a group meeting and I have a mic and my supervisor is telling me, I can't understand you, you keep breaking up. And I'm like, I think it's my mic again. So what do? I just remove it and I try something else, or I just tell them, like, you know what, my mic's not working, so I'm actually going to type in everything instead. So I'm sorry if I'm a little lagging on responding, but my mic's not working. Things happen. There are things that happen during meetings. There are things that happen that are really not under our control, but they do give us options in order for us to try to get ahead of the problem. So that's why we have these mic options, audio settings and video settings, in order for us to solve the problem. Another common mistake that happens, and it happens to me all the time, is like, let's say I'm practicing and I'm using the camera from the laptop and I forget to turn it off. And then I go into a meeting and it's telling me, hey, your camera's not working. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not working? And then I see the camera light it's on. And it's because I forgot that I used the camera in order to check if I looked presentable. So it's all a matter of just staying calm and just check what's going on and just like, oh, just give me a moment. Let me test things out. Let me see how things work. I think that happened to us last time in our last program with Lawrence. I forgot to give him permission, to give him access to his camera. It happens. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And I gave him camera access and things happen. And they happen live, but it's all about just moving forward and in order to present a good program. So let's get down to business. Let's talk about all the different features that you are have access to with all these different platforms. Now, they are not created equal. Some of them have different features. Some of them don't even have the same features. Some of them will have the features, but you have to pay for them. So, but I'm only talking about features that are available. And I'm going to have a spreadsheet in order for you guys to see which ones will have the tools that you want to use. Now, remember, you don't only need to have one. So like, let's say you want to use polling and this one app only has it. Just use that one for polling purposes. So the first one is, of course, chat. You want to make sure that you have an easy to use chat window. That way everybody can just talk amongst themselves or talk to the presenter or host, just like we're doing right now. So you want to look for these kind of things. And you also want to look for something if they have something with Q&A. Now, as I mentioned, I'm only talking about 6 conference platforms, but there are so many other platforms out there. But you can take the same ideas from here in order to look for the right platform, okay? So you wanna look for these type of things. So the Q&A is great in order to, for participants to send in all their questions. And that's a great area for us to see all the questions that are being asked. That way we can answer them accordingly. So for example, here, where is the library? Is it open right now? And I can either answer it live, or I can answer it through the chat and just type in, yes, we're open. So chats and Q&A are very important. Another thing that's also important is screen sharing. That's what we're doing right now, where you guys are able to see my screen. But you also have a choice of what screen you're looking at. So here, I hope I did it right. I think I did it right. So here I have it where you can only see my PowerPoint. But now I'm going to move away and you should not be able to see anything else except my PowerPoint. I hope I'm right, because I think that's how I chose it. But you can choose whether they can see the whole screen, where they can follow along and see if you're going to one web page to another web page to another application, so they can follow you along. Or you can choose whether or not they can just only see your PowerPoint. And that way, if you move to another page, they can't see that. They can only see the PowerPoint. And you always want to look for a toolbar like this. So for me, it's actually at the top, but I have all my tools, my menu here at the top, where I can choose to stop sharing. I can share my screen. I can pause my screen. I can also have access to my mute and video. I can record. I can see my participants list, my chat. I can annotate, and other apps and more options. So you always want to look at the top and see what tools you have available. You can also share files. So if there was a file I wanted to share with everyone, I can just choose the file and share it with everybody.
Oh, Adriana, just one question.
Yes.
Can you reiterate again which program you're presenting here?
Oh, yes. So this one was Webex. Is it Webex? Yes, this one is Webex. This one is also Webex. This one, I believe, was Google Meet, I think. That was a good question. I should have written those down. Sorry, my apologies for that. This one, however, this one's a different one. I think this one's also Google Meet. Oh, I feel like something's here. So this one is the whiteboard. This is a whiteboard. And so what this is allows me in order to write on screen. So let's say, for example, I want to have a meeting with my colleagues. Like, what are we going to eat for lunch, after work? So let's say we decided on barbecue, but now we have to decide which barbecue. I can do this live in front of all of my colleagues, and where we can say why Lucille is better, or why Famous Dave's is better, or what things they have in common. And so this is great for something that where if you're a student, if you are working on a project with a colleague, even if with a family, let's say you're planning a party. So as I said, I was part of a gender reveal. Like, I hope I'm part of the baby shower planning. And so like, let's say my aunt and I, we have different schedules, but I was like, hey, why don't we meet on Skype and we can put everything on the whiteboard. And in order for us to see exactly how the planning is going, it was like, oh, no. We said we were going to have egg salad. Remember, you said egg salad, change that to something else. So this is why whiteboard is so convenient, that you can do this live. Another thing that is also convenient is polling. This one was using Google Meet. I have it in, I have a table that will have everything featured, and it'll tell you which one is polling. My apologies again, I should have written it down. But that's also the good thing, is that a lot of them are the same. We'll have the same layout, where your screen is in the middle, in like a front center, and your Q&A or your chat is on the side or floating around. So that's what I like about it, is that they're all very similar. They're just little things that are different. But the reason I like that they're the same is because if you download any one, you know which one to go, you know where to go to in order to find something. So it was very easy to use like my past experiences with Webex because if you notice, we're using Zoom now. Before we were using Webex, but it was easy to transition to Zoom because they have the same, very similar layouts, where at the top is the menu, on the side is the chat. My camera is right there floating. So it was very similar in order for it to follow. So it's okay if you don't know which one is which, because they follow the same layout. But here we have polling. So as I mentioned, with my lunch group, with my dinner group, with the coworkers, I can send out a poll and ask them, hey, what do you guys want for after work dinner? And so I can send this out and they can choose which ones they want. And so, of course, another thing you want to look out for is background. You can either upload your own background, or you can use the ones they have available. You can blur, you can be in space, you can be in something that looks like an office. So this is very important to look for, that make sure that the platform will have a background, because it can make a difference. It can make it more exciting. You can also brand yourself. Or you can just like, let's say, I don't want to clean my apartment right now, so let's blur it. And another thing to look for are like raised hand. So a few times I saw like the raised hand go up. So that feature will pop up. So right here, as you can see, it popped up here in the corner, someone raised their hand. And so that way I know like, oh, Adriana has a question. Like I can pause my program, my presentation for a moment and just be like, hey, what did you have something to add? And like, oh yeah, go ahead. Or like right here, if I ask someone like, what's your favorite animal? I can use the emojis. And here you can see Martin said, turtle. And so, or like, let's say I say something that was really cool, you can put like a happy face emoji. And then, especially since I can't see faces, like those emojis are really important in order for us to get a little reaction from the audience. Because during my live event, I cannot see faces. Like when Lawrence was talking, I couldn't see his face if he was on because I don't see it. So, but I do see emojis because I saw him raise his hand a few times. That I do see. Another thing that might be important for you to have is recording functions. The record functions is important because like, let's say you're actually practicing your presentation, you can record your practice and then watch it later and see where you need to improve. So when I first started doing live events, you better believe I was recording my presentations. I wanted to make sure that like I was doing a good job, that was showing confidence. And so having a record function isn't just to record your event. You can use this as an advantage in order to record your practices. Like even if you're doing a job interview, you can have the questions ready. Like you don't have to have someone asking you questions. You can just read the question, like, what are your biggest faults? And then you can just answer the question, and then later you can watch yourself during an interview, like a mock interview, and you don't have to have someone there for you. You can just record it and then watch yourself later. So here is the table that I was talking about, and do not worry, we are recording this event, and so you will be getting this recording as an email later. So if you aren't able to get everything, do not worry, you will get this link. So as I said, Skype, oh, it was Skype that I was using. Skype does not have a whiteboard, but you do have background, you can record, you can do polling. They do not have a Q&A, but like I said, you have a chat. You can do screen sharing, and they have like where you can react during a program. So these are all the different conference platforms that I talked about today, that I was using today, and that and these are all the features that they have. Oops. So the X's means they do have it. The dashes mean that they don't. So X's they do have, and dashes they don't have. And here I named the different things that they can do. So for some, like Google Meet, they can only do screen share. So what that means is that they can't do specific, like choose a specific tab or choose a specific window. They will share the whole screen. But for example, Zoom, I can either do the whole screen and follow me along wherever I go, or I can just do a specific window. They even have other advanced features. I'm not going to go too much into them, but you can check them out later and see what other features they have. But like Webex, they have screen or window. Zoho Meeting has screen, window, and browser tab. So these are different ones that they have. So these are other things to look for. I'm not going to talk too much about them, but these are other features that you might be interested. So one of them is breakout rooms. What that means is that, let's say I have a group of 50 people in a meeting, and I ask them a question. I ask them a series of questions that I want them to answer, but in teams. I can break up those 50 people into teams of 5, I guess. Like, that's a good number. So I can create rooms for them to go into. The cool thing is, like, for example, Webex, you can do breakout rooms. I can join each breakout room. So I can get in there as the host and go into that room and ask them, like, hey, how's it going in here? Like, do you guys need help? Or like, well, like, are you guys having trouble, or like anything else? So breakout rooms is something to look out for if like you have a study session, or if you're teaching a class and you want them to go into groups. You can also lock a meeting. So let's say you tell people, I need you guys to come in at 2 o'clock for this meeting. If you don't come in, then you're out. Or let's say you're only limited to 20 people for the group. And so once your room is full of 20, you can lock that room. So those are also good things to look out for. Something like notes. I think it was Google Meet that had it. Let me go back. Yes. No. Yeah. This was Google Meet. I should have written it down, but they have something called notes. In order for, like, let's say you're having a live event, instead of me getting a piece of paper and writing down my notes, I can do it right then and there. So that's something I liked about that. You can also assign roles. So let's say Lawrence had to go, like something happened on Lawrence's side, but my partner Martin is there, and we can assign Martin as a host, and then Lawrence can leave. And so that's what I also like about that, is that you can assign roles. With Webex, they have something called a polling coordinator. So you can have a moderator, you can have a presenter, you can have a host, but you can also have a polling coordinator. And with the polling coordinator, but I believe you have to pay for that. So that's a bad example to use for the free versions. But with the polling coordinator, their focus is only on polling. They don't have to focus on anything else. So whenever I want a poll to come up, they just need to focus on the polls. But you can assign different roles during meetings, and you can also disassign roles. So sometimes someone is just to open the event, and then they have to go. I can, or they just want to be part of the, like, as a user, as a participant, you can assign them back as a participant and assign someone else as a host. You can also manage participants. So what that means, you can remove someone, you can add, I forgot to add that part, but you can also add someone. You can invite people to your events. You can also limit or disable mic or video. For example, like right now, we have your guys' mics and video disabled. So like, let's say, for example, I somehow start hearing someone talking, I can mute their mic. So that's why conference calls are different than a regular chat, like video chat, because we have more control over the program. We have more control over what's happening, where we can control who's talking, whether or not we want them in the program or not. So like, let's say, for example, we are in a study group and we're all talking about what we want to write for this paper. And we have 5 people talking, and I'm the one who created I'm the team leader for that project, and everybody's talking. I'm like, you know what? We're going to mute this right now, and we're only going to allow one person to talk. So you have more control over who's talking. And so that's what makes conference calls a valuable tool when you want to talk to a vast amount of people. Another thing you want to look out for is dial in to meetings. So where, as Lawrence mentioned at the beginning of our program, we do this for all of our programs, where if you're having connection issues, you can call in. So unfortunately, we had a family member who died, and we were doing a lot of family meetings via Zoom because this was during the pandemic. And we had family members who couldn't join live, but they could call in. So they could still be part of the family gathering, but they would just be only phone. And other things you want to look out for is like closed captioning, where it will have the closed captioning, like what I say is being said on screen, like it's being written on screen. So that's another thing that you might want to look out for is closed captioning. And of course, there's so many other tools. These are just a few, but it's all about exploring in order to choose the right app. So here is a layout of all the apps that I explored this time around. I use Skype, Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. The reason why I put an asterisk over Microsoft Teams is because they use Skype. Microsoft owns Skype now. So Microsoft uses Skype in order to do conference calls. You can use Zoho Meeting and Webex. As I said, there are so many other versions. There are also paid versions. But here I have a column for registration. So what they're looking for when you want to sign up. Access, and you want to look for something that has both apps and browsers. So sometimes let's say I use Skype. Not everybody has the app Skype, but what I like about Skype is that you don't have to have an account. So let's say I want to do a family gathering. I can send a link, and that family member, let's say, doesn't have Skype, but they can use it for free. They don't have to download the app. So you want to look for app or browser access. You want to make sure that it has a live chat. Practically all of them have live chats. So that's really not something to worry about. But another thing you want to focus on is participant max. All of them really had like 100 people. What made it different is the time allotted. So some of them were like 40 minutes or 60 minutes. So that means that during one session, you can only have like Zoho meeting, the max was 30 minutes. What's great though is that it has been changing. It is increasing more and more, because I think with Skype and Zoom before, it was only like, I think they both were like 30 minutes, I think, I can't remember. But little by little is changing. And then of course you want to make sure that it has enhanced features. Those enhanced features were the ones that we were talking about, like Whiteboard, sharing content. So you want to make sure that it has enhanced features. If you want to just plain, Google Meet was like probably one of the plainest. What I liked about it is that it had like 60 minutes, but it was plain. But yeah, so here is, and again, this program is being recorded, so you guys will get a link to our program at a later date. It's going to be emailed. So here are some more tips. So you want to choose, if you want to choose to mute your camera or microphone, you want to check your surroundings, whether or not there are too many people around you, if there's loud noise or other distractions. Remember, you can use more than one app. You want to check your connection, your internet connection. And you also want to wait until you're ready. Just before the program started, Lawrence sent me a message, asked me, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "Yes, I am ready." So you have a choice when you're ready. It's all about just you are your own advocate. So you just have to speak up and make sure that you are camera ready. Or even if you're not camera ready, just tell them like, hey, you know what? I'm not ready to be on camera. This and this happened. But you always want to discuss with your supervisors if it's something work related. And of course, we have our reference services. At any time you have any questions, please contact us. If you need to get more information, you can call your local library. You can text us at 626-394-4019. We're available Monday through Friday from 12 to 6. You can email us, so you can reach us at lacountylibrary.org/contact us. Right there, we have a form where you can email us. And of course, we have our instant librarian that's available Monday through Friday from 12 to 6. Here are some resources that I find very valuable. We have Emily's post, Manners in the Digital World, Living Well Online. How to Win Friends and Influence People in a Digital Age. And finally, Kill Reply All, a modern guide to online etiquette from social media to work to love. And that is the end of our presentation. But as I said, we are available for our Q&A, but I want to thank everybody for joining us. And thank you, Lawrence.
All right, thank you so much, Adriana, for that excellent and informative program. Yes.
I do have one more thing. Have water if you're going to be presenting. I forgot to bring my water out, and so now my mouth is parched.
That is a very good tip for presenters. So just a reminder, I just put a link for our library's YouTube playlists in the chat. And just a reminder, this program is recorded, as Adriana said, so if you missed the beginning, this will be posted on our YouTube playlist in the near future. And again, you'll be receiving an email with the links for this presentation and also a copy of this presentation as well. All right, so we do have quite a few questions from our audience members today, but first I just want to quickly talk about our upcoming digital literacy program that is happening next week, and that is how to avoid online scams. It's backed by popular demand. So next week's program is to learn how to safely navigate the internet and protect yourself against online scams, spotting common types of scams, and resources that are available for victims. All right, with that being said, let's go to the Q&A. Okay, so let's see. A lot of people ask this question: how do I get backgrounds for Zoom? Or where is the button to access a background for Zoom?
So a lot of times it's like you would click, so it depends on which one. All of them are going to be different, but you want to start off with the print, I keep wanting to say print preview, but before you enter a program, a meeting, they're going to have a preview screen of what it's going to be like when you enter. And a lot of times there you can change your background. So let me share my screen one more time. So if I click, so here's my little icon where I can change the background, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it, like my screen, but like you have controls. I think on the menu one, you'll be able to see it. So here, if you see the video, sometimes it'll have a drop-down menu. So it'll have like an arrow clicking down, or have 3 dots, also known as a kebab. You can click on that and it's going to give you a menu, and it'll say something like background. So you just have to click on that and it'll have different ones that you can choose from. So here's an example where I click the meeting settings, I click on video, and then it'll let me know what camera it's using, what it looks like, so the preview, and if I want to change, my background. So here, I had a background, but you can use a picture, so a JPEG. So if you have a picture, you can upload it here. It'll just ask you, like, do you want to add something? I'll have a plus sign or something like that. And then you can add it from there.
Okay, great. I also want to add, I just sent out the link to Zoom's website, and they have the step-by-step there as well.
Thank you.
So that's in the chat. Okay, so let's go to our next question. So just to clarify again, in order to Skype with family, do they need to download an app, or can they just use Skype or another web conferencing program from a web browser?
So if you're going to do Skype in particular has this right here where it says create a video call. So they don't have to have an account in order to use Skype. They can just head in as a guest user. But what I also like about all of the platforms is that they were all very easy to register. It wasn't hard. As I mentioned, if you already have a Google account, it's very easy to just download their application or access their application. And all of them, I was able to use a web browser. But that's what I liked about Skype. It was that no signups, no downloads required. That's what it was. One of the things I liked about Skype. So for family meetings, for family get-togethers, I liked the idea of Skype because you don't have to have an account with them.
Okay, great. Let's see, next question. Let's see, how do you use the breakout rooms in Zoom? Or yeah, or maybe like, what are the benefits?
What are the benefits? So what's beneficial is like, let's say you are doing a workshop and you have 20 people in that group, and you want to answer you want 5 answers questions, but you only have an hour. Like, you can't have all those people answer 5 questions. So the best way to do it is assign 1 question to 5 groups. And in each group, you'll have like 5 people. So that way, each group can present their answer. So that's kind of one of the benefits of breakout rooms, is that if you have a lot of people and you need a lot to get done, you can use your time wisely by just assigning 1 task to each group. So let's say you have another good example is like, let's say you're doing a book club and you want to assign a chapter to different people, but you want to be part of the same session. So you can assign 1 chapter to different people and they can get it done like more efficiently. And then once it's done, they can come back to the main room, and then they can all present their program. I've actually done also like outreach. Outreach is when we go out into the community and we talk about what services we have in our library. And I actually did a virtual outreach. And so what they ended up doing was they split everybody into groups. And we were 4 presenters. And each of us went into the group and we presented we presented our resources, but it also created a more intimate moment, where I was only talking to 5 people. And if they wanted to ask me something, they weren't lost amongst other 20 people in that group. I mean, in the main group. So it was a lot more one-on-one. So something where I can have a 5-person discussion versus a 50 discussion, it makes a big difference.
Okay, great. And for everybody's information, I also put the link in the chat on how to manage breakout rooms. And that's from Zoom's website as well.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, next question. Oh, okay. So I have a Zoom account for my book club, and it used to be with a simple link they could all join. But now it seems that either they need a passcode or I have to individually allow people to enter the meeting from a meeting room or from a waiting room. Is there some way back to the previous method?
Well, that's interesting because you should be able to modify whether or not they can. So sometimes it's a matter of just clicking a box like, can anyone join, or does it need a passcode? Those are things that you want to look for when you're scheduling your event. So when you schedule it, there should be options of how you want people to join. But you can always change to Skype. Not that I'm a sponsor for Skype, it's just I really like the whole no sign up thing about it. That was so easy. But there should be options. I don't recall, like, I don't remember with Zoom if I had that issue. I remember there was always like a box that I could choose whether or not anyone can join, or if I needed to create a password.
So actually, I looked that up, and it seems like starting last year, so Zoom took the steps to avoid Zoom bombing. So that was when people, like random people, just joined Zoom programs like this one and just started, causing a distraction. So it looks like Zoom started requiring passcodes or waiting rooms to prevent this sort of thing from happening. And a way to get around that is to send whoever you want to in the meeting. You have to send them an invitation ahead of time. And that way they can just click on the link in the email they receive and they just join. So kind of like how you all signed up for the program today, once you sign up, then you get an email and you click the link and that's it. So I think anybody who just tries to use the meeting code to log in without being a registered user would probably need to be let in by the host or use a password. And I also included the link for that in the chat as well. Okay. Oh, here's a good one, Adriana. If you had to restrict usage to one platform, which one would you choose and why?
The reason I'm going to say Skype is because you don't have to sign up. And it just makes it easier. Like it really depends, because I'm thinking in my personal life. In my personal life, I like the idea of of Skype, because I can send it to anyone in my family, any of my friends, and they don't have to sign up. So in my personal life, I like that. In work, I do like Zoom, actually. I really like Zoom. Especially like the idea of like not letting just anyone in, because that was always like, oh no, like what if, like what was it that you call Zoom bomb?
Zoom bombing.
Yeah, I'm like, I would hate that for anyone to happen during their program. Like you're having a workshop or you're doing a presentation and someone's ruining it. And I'm like, oh. And so it's always good to have safeguards. So I like that about Zoom, but I also like for my personal life, just to make it easy for my friends and family, like just use Skype. So it depends. Like I said, you can have more than one. It just depends on what you want to use it for. So if you are using it for your book club, if you're using it for your school, oh gosh, which one was it? Yeah, for school, or you do workshops, then it just depends. Or if you have a small business, or if you're going to interview, like let's say you're going to interview people, you want to make sure you're accessible to different people, for different people. So I can't really answer, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. There's different use cases for different programs. I would probably go with whichever one gives me the best user experience, is the least amount of trouble to set up, and the one that's used by, the people that, I'm going to talk with.
Yeah.
If it hits all three, that's the one I'll use.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Oh, here's another one. I'll just answer this one. How do you capture chat information shared in the chat? There's a really easy way to do that. Chat information. So that's the, I just posted a link to the article on how to capture chat info. And basically you have to enable a setting. Once you enable that based on the article, then you can save that to your computer. Do you have any thoughts on chat, on saving the chat, Adriana?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Here's another one. So Adriana, could you clarify, like, calling into a webinar instead of like joining as a regular user? Is there some kind of limit to calling in, or how's it different from, just connecting as a regular user?
So what that means is you are only listening to my presentation. You can't see what's going on my screen. And as a presenter, the way you look as a participant is like sometimes just as a phone number. So I can't see your name. I remember when I first started using, before we were using Webex, and I didn't understand how to use Webex, and I kind of gave up how to open Webex. So I was like, well, let me try calling it in. So I called in, and it was just harder to participate in the program because I can't raise my voice. I mean, I can't raise my hand. I can't use emojis. If someone asked a question, I couldn't put in a chat. So you're strict to only listening to the presentation. So it does limit to how you can participate in the program. However, what I do like about it is that, like, let's say I'm having sound issues. Like the sound on my laptop is just not working. Like no matter if I put the volume up, it's just not working. What I like about it is that I can call in. So on my phone, I can listen to it and watch on screen. So that is what makes dial in so different from watching the program like this.
And just to clarify, you can use any old phone. You don't need a smartphone to call in, right?
Yeah, you can use, it's a toll-free number. So you can use your house phone. You can use, even if your tablet allows you to call in, you can use your tablet too. Or even, let's say, what was that other thing? A payphone. I'm like, I can't even remember what it's called, but if you find a payphone and you have to be part of this program, you can do it that way too. I do have to share a funny anecdote though. I forgot to mention this. I thought it was just hilarious. But I was at Knott's Berry Farm, and I kid you not, I saw someone with a laptop and they were doing a meeting. I could tell that they were part of a Skype meeting. I saw it and I was like, wow, people really are doing that. Be careful with that though. Remember, you want to check your surroundings. You want to check like whether or not you're being intrusive to other people, not just your life, but other people. So you just want to be careful when you're doing that. But I just thought it was hilarious that I'm like, oh, like this really is happening right now at Knott's Berry Farm. In line, waiting to get on the ride. And I see someone sitting on the floor on a laptop. And I could tell it was like a conference call kind of thing. It's just like.
Well, some people just like their work.
Yeah. But maybe it wasn't work. Maybe it was like I said, I was part of a gender reveal. So maybe it was something like that. So it was just so weird to see on laptop. It's very far like that.
Okay, let's see. Here's another good one. So I recently recorded a meeting on Zoom and saved it to local instead of cloud. I was then unable to share the meeting with the other users. Now, if it's saved to local, it can only be viewed on the device that recorded it. But do you know how to, save it to cloud instead?
You can choose, because I know when I choose with Zoom, when I click record, I believe it asks you whether or not you want to save to cloud, or what was the second option, Lawrence? Do you remember?
Local.
Local. So you can choose. I actually never tried local, so I don't know how that one is. I've always done cloud, so I'm sorry if I don't have the answer for that. Lawrence, do you know?
Yeah, so I just posted a link. So that's how to start a cloud recording. That's from Zoom's help site. But if you saved it to local, you can still share it with others. So that you would then need to, upload that file that you saved to a service like Google Drive or to, Microsoft OneDrive, a kind of cloud sharing service, and then you can share it to other people from there. So it's just an extra step, but if you saved it to local, don't worry, you can still share it. It just takes an extra step. Let's see. Yeah. What else do we have? Oh, okay. So, okay, so somebody's asking like the overview, it's not sufficient for them to understand how to do, different functions. They want like step-by-step instruction on how to do things. What other resources are available to them if they want to take a deeper dive into this topic to, understand more about the topic?
So thank you, Lawrence, because Lawrence has been doing exactly what I was doing when I was getting to know these different platforms. Now, in order for me to present this program, I couldn't do a step-by-step because I'm only allowed a certain amount of time. But you can go to their direct website and they have step-by-steps, just like how Lawrence was showing you with those different links. That's what I like about all of these websites, all of these platforms. You can go to their websites and you can explore the different features that they have, and they'll give you the step-by-step of how to do it. So like how to register, or how to fix your mic, or how to download the whiteboard that you were using. So those are different things that they will have in their on their website. So you just have to sometimes there'll be like more features or more about Webex or something like that, and you just have to click on it and explore. So they had a lot of instructions. Another good thing is that you can contact them. You can contact the service and like their contact us, and see what they have available. Like if you could speak to a person, or they can email you. I mean, you can email them and they can respond back. But I've explored all of these different ones, and I didn't really have any problems about finding out like how to change things. But like with one of them, I remember I was like, why can't I do this? Why couldn't I couldn't do something. I can't remember what it was. And I think it was with Zoom. I can't remember, but I went to their website. I'm like, how do I do this? Turns out I couldn't even do it. They didn't have the option available. And like it said it right there. So you can go to a web browser too and type your question. How do I put a background on Google Meet? And then they'll have it available for you like right there, or you can go to their website. So just like Lawrence was doing, like copying and pasting all the links, those are how they're available on all of those websites.
And there's also lots of good video tutorials as well online that does step by step. And also, if you're having trouble with a particular step, if you're still not sure how to do something, even after you see it on YouTube, you're more than welcome to ask the library. Adriana, if you could go to the reference services page, you can contact a librarian through all of the methods that are going to be on the page, phone, text, email, or instant librarian. And we'd be more than happy to help you through that particular step that you're stuck on.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you brought up another good one, YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Especially because the way conference platforms were before the pandemic and versus now, they are continuing. Well, with any program that we use, they continuously evolve, they continuously advance. And so like, let's say Skype tomorrow comes out with like, hey, we have this new tool for you guys. Most likely YouTube is going to have a video about that new tool. So it's also really great to get a perspective from someone else who is also using it.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got my tablet, you better believe I was on YouTube, like what's the best way for me to use my tablet? Like what I want to get the best use out of it because I spend a lot of money on it. And so with any program, with any application, with any device, it's good to get someone else's experiences, not just like getting it from the company, but people who are using it. So thank you for bringing up the YouTube tip.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Here's another one. So how do you save like a YouTube site and then or a link and then share that link on a Zoom meeting?
Wait, what? Like they want to, you want to watch the YouTube video or share the link from the YouTube video?
I'm not sure. So the exact question is, how do you save a YouTube site, for example, a song, and to share the song at a Zoom meeting?
On YouTube?
Yeah. So
well, YouTube has like where it has a share feature. You'll look for something that says share. So anything that you want to share with someone else, you want to look for a symbol that has like an arrow or something that says share. And then they'll give you options, whether you can copy the link or embed the link. Embed, that means that like you're using, in order to embed it on a website, like where you can play it on like a PowerPoint or something like that. But you can look for something that says link. Hold on one second. Let me stop sharing for a moment and show you. Okay. Okay. Go back to Zoom. Let me go to share. So here we have locking down your data. And let's say you want to share it with your team and during a conference. Right here, we have our share. And then it'll have different options of embed. You can send it directly on WhatsApp, on Facebook, Twitter, or as an email, or you can copy. So here I have copied the link. It's on my clipboard. That is a digital clipboard, not a real clipboard. And what I also like about this is you can start at a certain time. So like, let's say I don't want the intro. I want to start a minute in. I can choose when I want it to happen. When I want it to start, I mean. And so let's go to chat, and I want to share this with the group. And with everyone. And so everybody should have the link for locking down your data. This was a program that was presented by Lawrence. So thank you, right, Lawrence? Was that right? Yep. But yeah, so is that what they meant?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. The other part is, you know, again, if you just wanted to share this, if you just wanted to share this video live, you can just start playing that video, and it will, you know, and everybody can see it. Oh, okay, so let's see. An additional question about sharing the link. Yes, but how did you do that last step, sharing with everyone?
Oh, I went to chat. I went to my chat and I shared the link. I copy and pasted the link. So when I click on the clip when I click on share and I click copy, I instead of like putting Control-C copy, it does it automatically. And so then I go to my chat window on Zoom, and then I do Control-V, and now I did that. And I make sure I have it set for everyone. Because before I had it, I was having a conversation with just Lawrence. So you also want to make sure that you have it set to the right person. But here is, let's do a little test and see if you guys can see it playing.
And be on our way.
Hey, it's Lawrence.
Okay. So welcome to this episode of the.
So could you hear yourself, Lawrence?
Yeah, I could.
Oh, that's my video. I want to stop this. So
Yes.
yeah, you just copy the link and you share it. Not as far as downloading. Did they ask about downloading? I can't remember.
No, I think that was the gist of the question.
Okay.
There's also an add-on to this. When you play the video, what do you need to do to hear the video audio?
Well, I have my mic on. And so I have it where I can choose whether it can play. I mean, what, like it's my mic from my laptop. Am I getting the right? Am I getting the question correct?
Yeah. So when you share your screen and you're playing a video on the screen, the sound should be enabled by default. So it should be available. Let's see. Oh, here's another question. What does embed mean for a video?
Okay, so embed. Let's go to share again. Go back to this. Okay, so embed on here, it's a code for like websites. So people who create websites use something called HTML, or what's the other one called? HTML.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I thought there was
yeah,
another
great.
one. So let's say I'm creating a website. I will take this link and I can embed it into a code of HTML. That is a whole career. It's like a learning a language. So this is really for people who are creating websites, or sometimes like I remember Facebook. I'm not Facebook, MySpace. If you ever were a user of MySpace, you could add videos to your MySpace page, but it had to be an HTML code. So you could take something like this and embed it to your, but they made it very user friendly. But it's when you want to embed this to something else, like a web page.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adriana.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that looks like all the questions we have for today. So thank you, everybody, for attending our program. Again, email with the links and the presentation will be sent out shortly.
Mhm.
So thank you, and be sure to come back next week for how to avoid online scams.